Hello and welcome back to Chant Talk. This is episode 4 and I'm your host Patrick Torsell. Today we're going to dive back into organ accompaniment of Gregorian chant a little bit and we're going to talk about mode 6. Now, mode 6 is the plagal counterpart to mode 5. So, mode 6 has its tonic on Fa, just like mode 5. Its dominant is La, and its range is Do to Do. Now, mode 6 has kind of traditionally been referred to as hypolydian, but the existence of, or I should probably say the predominance of te instead of t, ends up giving it a little bit of a different sound. In fact, we might make a comparison to modern music, and I want to stop there for just a second and remind everybody that we do not want to fall into the trap of thinking about chant in terms of modern music. However, it can be useful to draw parallels because so many of us were trained first in modern music and now come to Gregorian chant only after we've already received training in modern music. The two really are very different things and we don't want to conflate the two, but it is reasonable to make analogies and comparisons between them to aid in the understanding. And so with that in mind, I think it's a fair comparison to say that mode 6 in most cases is very relatable to just playing in the key of Fa major, or if we played in key, it would be F major. We almost always have te, so that's the B flat, and the kind of sound and tonality of it tends to just be a generally very major key sounding tonality. So it's actually one of the easier modes to be able to just accompany on the fly. It doesn't throw you for too many extremely modal loops. So we're going to take a look today at the Ave Verum, and we're going to take a look at the Agnus Dei from Mass 8 and see how those sound at the organ. Let's go. So we'll start with the Ave Verum, and we talked about this kind of having this Fa major sound to it. And so Ave Verum, we're going to go ahead and place this in key, so Fa is going to be F, and it begins on F. The first phrase is, so it makes sense to go ahead and start out with just a Fa major chord here. Ave Verum. Now we're going to add the 2 and 4, kind of a suspension of that Fa chord, corpus natum, and then resolve it back to root position Fa major. So let me go ahead and get that in here, beginning with Fa major, so F, and then let's see, what did we do? We had Ave Verum, so there we suspend with 2 and 4. Corpus natum, back to 3 and 5 there for root position major chord. Ave Verum, corpus natum. Let's see now. De Maria Virgine. You might have an initial tendency to want to just go to the what would be, if we're thinking in Fa major, what would be the 5 chord, or C major, Do major here. But we're going to avoid that kind of dominant major 7 on a 5 chord. It's a perfectly good cadence, but not for chant. It just kind of puts you in more of a modern mindset. So instead, let's see, what else can we use as a cadence here? That just keep it nice and simple, because remember that chant accompaniment is there to support the singing, not as an end in itself. So let's keep it simple. Let's use, that was the minor, So minor, and we can use So minor because of the prevalence of the te that shows up in mode 6, especially in a piece like this, at Ave Verum. We don't have any instances of T, so that te is prevalent, so let's go ahead and use that Sol minor chord, which is going to be So, Te, Re. Okay? Or in this case, G minor. And then we just relax back down onto Fa major. repeats here. So we're going to probably use the same phrase, Fa major, and then our 2 and 4 suspension, and then back to that root position chord. Repeats again. Now, how about this time we grab that first inversion of our sol minor, so we move our bass up to a B flat here. G minor over a B flat, so sol over te, and then back to our root position, Fa major chord. Okay, so if we listen to that, okay, now we move on to the next phrase. Cuius latus perforatum. We've still got that kind of fa la sol going on here. Look at that. We can just suspend our Fa major again here. Cuius latus perforatum fluxi. And there we have te la sol. So again, it's asking for that sol minor chord. Fluxi aqua. But a first inversion of Fa. So F over A in this case. And then we're back on that first inversion of the sol minor there. G minor in this case over B flat, sol over te. So we have fluxit aqua et sanguine. Right? And then that phrase repeats. Est nobis pregustatum mortis in examine. So we can just run that same thing out through that phrase. Nice and simple, works beautifully. And then, of course, we're resolving back onto Fa major. So, mortis in examine. Now we have, oh Jesu. And this whole section at the end is this really beautiful, beautiful thing here. And it works really well to pedal tone on Fa through this. So we're just going to do that. We're going back and forth between Fa major and Te major, which again, to relate it to modern terms, so that's your major 1 and your major 4, right? But we're holding that Fa pedal tone all the way through. Oh, Jesu. So there I'm just doing that suspension on 2 and 4. Dulcis, back to 3 and 5. But this time, oh, Jesu. Let's actually go into that Te major chord over that pedal tone on the F, and then we're turned to our Fa major. Now it's building up here, and so we can mimic that kind of build up, that arsic push with by moving to the first inversion of our Fa major chord there. So, oh Jesu pie, oh Jesu. What about that? So we went, oh, first inversion, Fa major, so it's F over A. Oh, yeah. Now this is a B flat major chord or a Te major chord. If we stop there on the Re major, Re minor for a minute, so D minor, which is going to take us to Sol minor for Philly. Okay, yeah, so resolve at the end back to Fa major. So let's listen to the whole thing. Ave verum corpus natum de Maria Virgine vere passum immolatum in cruce promine cuius latus perforatum fluxita quae sanguine estonatis pregustatum mortis in examine. O Iesu dulcis, O Iesu pie, O Iesu Filii Mariae. And that works pretty well, okay? Okay, so let's turn our attention now to the Agnus Dei. For the sake of demonstrating the utility and flexibility of the square notes again, let's move Fa up to, say, G, okay? So, and right out the gate we already have that Fa major tonality, right? So let's start on a Fa major chord. And there we're already going right into that suspension again. So we're seeing patterns again. Mode 6, lots of suspensions on that Fa major chord. The 4 to the 3, 2 and 4, moving their way back up to 3 and 5 when my fingers don't slip. Because we're getting a little jazzy in here. So, Agnus Dei. Then we just resolve back to that Fa major. And we're going to keep this simple and pedal tone through here again. And we're going back to a suspension. Qui tollis peccata mundi. Back to the triad there. Now what? Miserere nobis. Nice and simple, we're using that Sol minor chord. Miserere, right there. So in this structure, that's going to be an A minor. And now we're just suspending the 4 of the Fa major chord. G sus4. Okay. Nobis, and then back to the 3 there. Okay. Agnus Dei, and I'm just kind of bouncing back and forth a little with those suspensions. Agnus Dei. Now, qui tollis. Let's jump to that first inversion of our Fa major. So it's G over B, and of course, remembering that we want that movement to happen on the ictus there. Qui tollis peccata. I think we need something else in there. Agnus Dei. Qui tollis peccata. Maybe we'll just jump up to the C major here, and then back to the suspension on G. So that was our Te major chord. Qui tollis peccata, which is functioning, that Te major chord again is functioning as the 4 chord. And we sustain our G and resolve it out here, okay? So what do we have? Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, right? And then it's back to miserere no, and we can run that through just the same as we did before. So that Sol minor chord is showing up a lot in those suspensions. Okay, now the final one starts like the beginning. Agnus Dei. Okay, so we're going to run that suspension again, and about this time, we're going to go down to, how about a Re minor here? Qui tollis, so that's E minor. Qui tollis me, and then that C major, or the Te major on Pe, of peccata. Okay, we could add a little movement of the kind of the bass line in there if we want. How about qui tollis peccata? We can even throw in that Sol minor on top, so A minor there. And that brings us right back to resolve a suspended Fa major again, okay? So what did I do there? I just walked the bass line down. Qui tollis peccatam. So it's the bass line is E, D, C, A, G. And it sounds like this when you put it all together. Qui tollis peccatam. And then we can finish it out like we did above. Dona nobis pace. Okay. Let's run through that. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccatam mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccatam mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccatam mundi, dona nobis pace. So a nice and simple accompaniment just to support the singing and to amplify the beauty a little bit here. And what are we seeing then in mode 6? We're seeing obviously lots of Fa major, lots of 2 and 4 or just 4 suspensions on that Fa major that resolve then back to the major triad. Certainly a couple of first inversions we see coming up. We see pedal toning with that Fa. We have quite a bit of Sol minor, which again works because of the prevalence of Te. If we didn't have Te, we wouldn't be using that Sol minor chord, but we do, so it works. And then, of course, Te major also showing up, functioning as the 4 chord in this structure. We see a little bit of Re minor showing up. In this case, E minor. We saw okay, so Fa major, Sol minor, Do major, a little bit of Re minor, and plenty of suspensions and some pedal toning to kind of make this mode happen. What are we avoiding? Well, we're avoiding that 5/7 chord that we don't want to show up, which is going to be your La major or La major 7. So we're not going to be using that. In G, that would be D7 or D major. We're staying away from that. When we had Fa on F, that would have been C. We're not doing any of that. We're making our cadences, again, more of the 4-1 or even minor 2-1 for our cadences. And many of those cadences really are just sitting on suspensions. So that's kind of how Mode 6 works for accompanying. I hope that was helpful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all next time on Chant Talk. Take care and God bless you.